Two deep brown eyes stared back from the bathroom mirror. Sterling stood completely still, studying his own reflection as if he was seeing a hidden part of himself for the first time. His fingers slowly lifted and touched the glass, tracing the outline of his cheek. For a moment, he forgot everything around him. The doubts, the fear, the years of pretending. "Hey, are you okay in there?" Victoria's voice suddenly broke the silence. Sterling quickly pulled his hand away from the mirror. His heart raced like he had just been caught hiding something terrible. For 32 years, he had shared his life with Victoria. They had built a marriage, a family, and countless memories together. But there was still one part of himself he had never been brave enough to reveal. "I was just..." The words disappeared. Victoria stepped closer and carefully looked at him. Sterling couldn't read her expression. Was she angry? Confused? Disappointed? Then she gently reached up and wiped a small mark from the corner of his mouth. "That's my favorite shade," she whispered. "Coral sunset." Sterling closed his eyes. He prepared himself for the worst. He expected anger. He expected rejection. He expected everything they had built together to suddenly fall apart. But instead, he felt Victoria's hand resting softly against his cheek. "Look at me." Slowly, Sterling opened his eyes. Something had changed in her expression. Not anger, not judgment. Something closer to curiosity and understanding. "How long?" she asked quietly. Sterling swallowed. "Always." His voice was barely audible. "Since I was young, I've always wondered what it would feel like to show this side of myself." Victoria stayed silent for a long moment. Then a small smile appeared on her face, the same playful smile that had made Sterling fall in love with her decades ago. "Let's make a deal." Sterling looked confused. "We have that tennis match tomorrow at the club." She paused. "If you lose, you let me take you somewhere." "Where?" "My salon." Sterling's heartbeat increased. "The full experience." He stared at her. "What does that mean?" "Everything," Victoria replied. "Hair, makeup, clothes. A complete transformation." Monique has helped many people discover a side of themselves they never had the courage to explore. Sterling didn't know what to say. "And if I win?" he asked. Victoria shrugged. "Then we never talk about this again." She leaned closer with a teasing smile. "But Sterling, I've seen you play tennis. You never lose." The next morning arrived bright and clear. Sterling stood on the tennis court wearing his usual white outfit, holding his racket tightly. Across from him, Victoria smiled confidently in her navy tennis dress. "Ready?" Sterling nodded. The first serve came flying toward him. Normally, he would have returned it effortlessly. 2 decades of country club matches had trained him perfectly. But this time, he moved just a little too slowly. The ball passed him. 15 love. Victoria smiled. The same thing happened again and again. Every shot Sterling could easily return somehow went just wide. Every opportunity slipped away. The people watching from the sidelines looked surprised. Sterling was known as one of the best players at the club. He never had days like this. By the final point, his shirt was soaked, not from the game, from the emotions running through him. This was the moment. One more missed shot. One more decision. The final serve came across the net. Sterling watched the ball approach. He lifted his racket and deliberately missed. Game. Set. Match. Victoria walked toward him with a victorious smile. As they shook hands, she leaned closer. "I already made the appointment. Tomorrow. 9 a.m. That night, Sterling barely slept. He stared at the ceiling, feeling a strange mix of nervousness and excitement. When Victoria's alarm rang at 7:30, he was already awake. "Shower first," she said, walking toward the closet. Sterling followed her instructions. When he finished, he felt different. The smoothness of his skin was unfamiliar, but somehow comforting. Victoria had prepared simple clothes for the drive. "Don't worry," she said. "They'll have everything ready when we arrive." The salon was located in an elegant shopping district, hidden behind tinted windows for privacy. Above the entrance, golden letters displayed the name. Transformation. Victoria held Sterling's hand as they walked inside. A stylish woman in her 50s with perfectly arranged platinum hair greeted them warmly. "Victoria, darling." She hugged her before turning towards Sterling. "And this must be Sterling. I'm Monique." Monique studied him carefully with years of experience. Then she smiled. "Oh, I see so much potential. Those features, that bone structure. You're going to look incredible." She guided them into a private room filled with mirrors, styling chairs, and beauty equipment. "Now then," Monique said as Sterling sat down. "Victoria told me you were ready for something new." She smiled. "I already have the perfect idea." The transformation began. First came the hair. Monique worked with incredible precision, adding warm auburn tones and creating soft waves that framed Sterling's face. When she finished, Victoria touched the silky strands. "It looks beautiful, like copper shining in sunlight." Next came the eyebrows. With careful attention, Monique reshaped them into elegant arches that completely changed Sterling's expression. Then came the makeup. Monique explained every step as she worked. A natural foundation, soft contouring, warm eye tones, a subtle color on the lips. Each small change revealed a version of Sterling he had hidden for years. He stared into the mirror, not recognizing a stranger, but recognizing himself. Finally, Monique smiled. "Now comes the most exciting part." She opened the clothing collection. "Let's find the style that truly represents you." Monique rolled a clothing rack into the room, filled with carefully chosen outfits in different colors and styles. "I selected a few options based on what Victoria told me about your personality, your taste, and your body shape," she explained. She pulled out the first dress. A beautiful burgundy wrap dress made from soft, flowing fabric. "This style works beautifully because it creates balance," Monique said. "The wrap design defines the waist, while the neckline creates an elegant silhouette." Sterling stood quietly, his legs slightly trembling as Monique helped him remove the simple gray shirt and jeans. For so long, these clothes had represented the person he showed the world. But now, something new was beginning. Monique handed him a carefully chosen set of undergarments. "The right foundation makes a huge difference," she explained. "It helps create a natural shape and allows the clothes to fall properly." She helped Sterling adjust everything comfortably before carefully placing the dress over his head. The fabric moved smoothly against his newly soft skin. Monique adjusted the wrap, tightening it slightly until the dress fit perfectly. Victoria returned with a pair of nude-colored heels. "I wasn't sure about the size," she said with a smile. Sterling slipped them on. They fit perfectly. He slowly stood. One step, then another. The heels changed more than just his height. They changed his posture, his movement, the way the dress flowed around him. "Accessories," Monique announced. She placed a delicate gold necklace around his neck, followed by matching earrings and a thin bracelet. The final touch was a light floral fragrance applied to his wrists. "There," Monique said. "Are you ready to see everything together?" She slowly turned the chair toward the mirror. Sterling froze. The reflection staring back was both unfamiliar and strangely familiar. Auburn waves framed his face. The burgundy dress complemented his new appearance perfectly. The gold jewelry reflected softly under the salon lights. His lips carried the same warm coral shade Victoria had noticed earlier. For a moment, he couldn't speak. "What do you think?" Victoria asked gently. Sterling looked down at his hands. Only then did he notice the manicure. Elegant French tips. Simple. Beautiful. "I think." His voice trembled. "I think I need a new name." Victoria smiled. "I've always loved the name Annie." Annie. The name echoed in his mind. It felt natural, like something that had been waiting for years to be discovered. "Annie," she whispered. "Yes, I'm Annie." Monique smiled proudly. Beautiful choice. The next hour became a lesson in confidence. Monique taught Annie everything. How to sit comfortably in a dress. How to walk naturally in heels. How to maintain her hairstyle. How to refresh her makeup. "The extensions will last for months if you care for them properly," Monique explained while demonstrating how to brush the auburn waves. "And the color works with you. This isn't a disguise." She smiled. This is your signature look. Annie listened carefully. She practiced walking across the salon floor. The burgundy dress moved gracefully with every step. Victoria watched proudly. How do you feel? She asked. Annie looked into the mirror one more time. The person looking back seemed confident, peaceful, real. Like myself, Annie answered softly. For the first time, like myself. The drive home was quiet. Annie couldn't stop touching her hair, amazed by the softness and the way it rested against her shoulders. When they arrived at the house they had shared for more than 3 decades, everything looked the same. But somehow, everything felt different. The neighbors, Annie suddenly said. What will we tell them? Victoria reached over and held her hand. Whatever you want. Or nothing. She smiled. This is your journey. Inside the house, familiar rooms suddenly felt like new places. The dress brushed against the kitchen counter. The heels clicked across the wooden floor. A sound Annie had heard Victoria make thousands of times, but had never experienced herself. I should change, Annie said. But even she didn't sound convinced. Why? Victoria asked. You look beautiful. She grabbed her purse. And we need groceries anyway. Annie's eyes widened. Out like this. Victoria smiled. Like what? Like yourself. The grocery store was only a few minutes away. But to Annie, it felt like stepping into an entirely different world. She checked herself in the car mirror. The lipstick was perfect. The hair was still flawless. Nothing had gone wrong. Ready? Victoria asked. Annie took a deep breath. Then she stepped out. The parking lot was full of people. Shoppers walking. Families talking. Cars passing. Nobody stopped. Nobody stared. The world continued. Inside the store, the lights. Softer skin. Changes in body shape. A gradual shift in where the body carried weight. Breast development. Emotional changes that could come with hormone therapy. Estrogen affects more than appearance, the doctor explained. It can influence how you experience emotions and how you connect with yourself. She looked directly at Annie. This is a major decision. Are you completely certain? For a moment, Annie thought back to the first time she had looked into Monique's mirror. The auburn hair, the warm lipstick, the feeling she had when she wore that burgundy dress. It hadn't felt like pretending. It had felt like finally arriving somewhere she had always belonged. I have never been more certain about anything, Annie answered. The changes happened gradually. At first, they were small. Then one day, Annie realized just how much had changed. Her face became softer. Her natural features appeared more defined. Her body slowly developed a shape that felt more aligned with who she had always known herself to be. The clothes she loved began fitting differently, not because they no longer suited her, but because they suited her even more. The burgundy wrap dress that started everything now fit her perfectly. 6 months after beginning hormone therapy, Annie stood in front of her bedroom mirror wearing an emerald green cocktail dress. Tonight was different. It was the country club's annual gala, her first major public event since her transition. Her auburn hair, now completely her own after months of growth and careful styling, fell naturally around her shoulders. Victoria stood in the doorway wearing an elegant midnight blue dress. She smiled. You look incredible. Annie laughed nervously. Ready to face everyone? Victoria smiled. They're not monsters. Annie adjusted her gold necklace. They're just people we've known for years who are learning something new. Exactly. The country club ballroom looked like something from a movie. Crystal lights. Beautiful decorations. Expensive jewelry sparkling everywhere. When Annie and Victoria entered, conversations briefly slowed. People recognized her. Some looked surprised. Some looked curious. Some simply watched quietly. Victoria leaned closer. Keep your head high. You belong here. Annie smiled. And she believed it. Richard Harrison, Annie's former tennis partner, approached first. His wife Eleanor stood beside him, looking uncertain. Victoria, Richard greeted warmly. Then he looked at Annie. And you must be Annie. She extended her hand. It's wonderful to see you both. Richard shook her hand. His expression showed surprise, but his smile was genuine. Annie, right? You look. He paused. Wonderful. That simple acceptance broke the tension. Soon, more guests approached. Some had questions. Some were unsure how to react. But most surprised Annie with their kindness. She answered politely. She laughed when appropriate. She ignored unnecessary negativity. And for the first time, she wasn't worried about what everyone thought. She was simply enjoying her life. Later that evening, Annie stood near the bar when Judge Patterson approached. Sterling was always a good man, he said. He smiled. But Annie, she is something special. Annie looked surprised. The judge continued. Sometimes becoming who we truly are requires the greatest courage. Annie felt tears forming, but quickly smiled. Thank you. My niece transitioned last year, the judge explained. It was the best thing she ever did. He nodded toward Victoria. Give her my regards. She's lucky to have you. The night eventually came to an end. Guests slowly left toward the valet area. Annie's feet hurt from her heels. But it was a good kind of pain. The kind that came from dancing, laughing, living. Victoria looked at her as they waited for the car. How do you feel? Annie thought carefully. 6 months earlier, she had been sterling, successful, respected, but incomplete, living behind a version of herself that never felt entirely real. Now, she was Annie, confident, peaceful, whole. She held Victoria's hand. Like myself, she smiled. Completely myself. As they drove home through familiar streets, Annie caught her reflection in the side mirror. Auburn waves. Warm lipstick. Eyes filled with confidence. A person she finally recognized. No regrets. Victoria asked. Annie smiled. Only one. What? That I waited so long to become who I was always meant to be. Their house appeared ahead, the porch light glowing warmly in the darkness. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. There were still documents to update, appointments to manage, new conversations to have. But tonight, Annie was simply a woman returning home with her wife after a beautiful evening. She had intentionally lost that tennis match months ago. At the time, it looked like losing, but it turned out to be the greatest victory of her life. The lipstick that started everything still sat safely in her purse. Coral Sunset, Victoria's favorite shade. Now Annie's favorite too. Thank you, Annie whispered as they entered the garage. For seeing me before I could see myself. Victoria smiled. I always saw you, darling. I was just waiting for you to catch up. Inside, Annie removed her heels and let out a relieved laugh. The emerald dress would need cleaning. The jewelry needed to be stored carefully. Tomorrow morning, she would wake up, style her auburn hair, apply her makeup, and choose another outfit from the wardrobe that finally felt like hers. But tonight, she was simply Annie Thompson. A woman. A wife. Her authentic self. Her journey from sterling to Annie had never truly been about clothes, makeup, or appearances. It was about courage, acceptance, and finally having the freedom to live as the person she had always been inside. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow for more stories, behind-the-scenes content, and future episodes.